fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
The scene on the beach at Bay Head earlier this week. Tropical storm Henri passes by along the coast. Warmer tropical waters come inshore. Bait perhaps is triggered to get that migration started. And next thing you know, the false albacore is slicing and slashing through the prey. Regrettably, for the most part, in Ocean and Monmouth County, they were just a little bit outside. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, back here at the scene of the crime, so to speak. I have gotten some reports along the northern stretch in Monmouth County, some guys along the beach really tying into those false albacore. In fact, Dennis from the Hook House in Toms River, he said George Glanz hit one, a nice albie in the Seaside Suds, and that was taken on a Joe Baggs resin jig. Simon Alcalay, he let me know over the weekend, it was Saturday, caught a little bit of albie fever offshore by boat off of Long Branch. And of course, our lead image for the week, it comes to us by way of Tommy Huber out with his father Dennis. They were out on Saturday during the small craft advisory we had before Henri passed through, before things got messy. They had trailered up to Shark River, headed out, saw 80-pound bluefin just at the 3-mile line. They also had a few little tuna and some false albacore, all within 8 miles of the beach. Now, I'm hearing nothing really from the crew up there at Albie Alley along Sandy Hook, but you know what they say, some good things are better left unsaid. When that crew goes quiet, you could probably expect it. Now, along this stretch in Bay Head earlier this week, you could see the false albacore coming in and out, left and right. They're all over the place, but for the most part, just outside of reach. And if you get down into Atlantic County, we're hearing some of the same thing about the speedsters. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle said those speedsters, predominantly Spanish mackerel, can be found just off the beaches. In fact, Don Brown checked in with him just the other day, some Spanish mackerel just a couple of miles outside of Brigantine. By boat, my recommendation anywhere along the Jersey Shore would be try trolling. A few of those Clark spoons, maybe some Yazori deep divers, the Rapala X-Raps. You can also set up and drift at some of these mid-range lumps and ridges. Maybe throw some spearing out. See if you can't get them on chunks of spearing, but if you get those flashes going in your chum slick, then also start throwing around those Castmasters, the Deadly Dicks, the epoxy jigs, or the Tsunami Slim Waves or Mid Waves, those smaller flashy slim metals. That'll get you done. You can get some tips on boating up some of these speedsters, whether Spanish or king mackerel, good tasting fish, excellent tasting bonita, and of course some of those Spanish or those false albacore. Love to chase them, not so much eating them. But again, get those tips in the August edition of the Fisherman magazine. That is still on newsstands just for the next couple of days. Pick up that August edition right now. We will go to print with a September edition next week, but Captain Nick DeGennaro has a great article on chasing along by boat looking for those speedsters. If you're in the beach, this is that time of year where we start chasing them all the way into September, but you'll see the blitzes popping up. I know you're looking over my shoulder to see if something pops up here. For the little stretch that I've been here in Bay Head today, I have not seen any, but you'll see them popping up. You'll see some of the birds wheeling and diving. You'll see the slashes and the splashes. They'll be in tight, they'll be off to the left, out to the right, offshore. They move fast. So it's humbling, it's frustrating, but it's also exhilarating, especially when you get that one cast in the mix where those false albacore are busting, and especially if you hook up. They'll take drag, they'll dump it, and again, not a great eating fish, but it's a heck of a fish to try chasing along. If you're out there at low light conditions, make sure you put on the polarized glasses, the Costas. In fact, I just picked up these Sunrise Silvers, the 580Gs, which are great for low light conditions, when you're more apt to find some of those false albacore busting right in the surf. The epoxy jigs, the Joe Baggs, the Hoagies, any of those epoxy jigs, stop by your local tackle shop. Go in and look for some of the metals that are working for some of those false albacore. I keep wanting to say Spanish mackerel. They're in the mix as well. You'll see them torpedo out of the water if you're in the right place at the right time. Go light, 20-pound braid, 20-pound fluoro. Try to eliminate any of the hardware in between. If you want to connect your braid and your fluoro using an FG knot, an Alberto, whatever you can. But be ready for those fish when they show themselves. It might be a lot of times where you're just kind of walking or looking or even sitting waiting for those opportunities to cast. You can go blind casting. You might hook up with a bonita or a Spanish, but if you're looking to get some of those false albacore, it's all about patience, and the success is the biggest reward. Now at the Jersey Shore, don't forget our summer flounder season. We are in the home stretch at this point, a little less than a month to go on the Fluke grounds here. Typically, a barrage of tropical storms passing along the coast is an indication for Fluke that it's time to pack up and start heading east. Luckily, Henri, for us along the shore at least, was just a passing blow. And I think one of the things maybe it did is it kind of got that bait excited, got the bait moving. So I would expect, especially on this backside of last Sunday's full moon, we should see some significant catches on the Fluke grounds. In North Jersey, out of Shark River, and up there on the Raritan Bay, out of Highlands and Atlantic Highlands, all those boats, I expect to do a number on the deep structure. The big Mohawk continues to run out of Shark River, getting on the sticky stuff, and is doing well with some big fish. In central Jersey, just a little bit to the north of me, the Jamaica 2 is running out of Manasquan. They've been doing some good action with some jumbo fluke. In fact, they did have a 10-pounder earlier this week. I'm sure just offshore at Axel Carlson, maybe Seagirt, also worth a look. And if you head farther south, if you're coming out of Barnegat, the Tires, the Barnegat Life Reef, definitely your opportunity to put together a couple of good catches of fluke in these final weeks. Here's a flashback, a fishy flashback of sorts. Erica Moyer, fun story for us. She first had her picture on the cover of the Fisherman magazine almost 20 years ago out of Barnegat. She said she returned to the same location, same exact location the other day for a total of 20 fluke, 3 keepers. She said, quote, "Still loving your magazine." God bless you, Erica. If you're staying in the back, follow the advice of guys like Peter Yukas, who said he fished the deep waters behind Avalon for fish to 22.5 inches. These back bay waters are warm. This hot streak, this little wave we've gotten this week after the tropical storm is leaving my lip wet, and it's also leaving the back bay waters a little bit warmer. So you definitely want to get into some of those deeper channels if you're going to be looking for the flatties. Aaron Sims, he let us know that he's been slaying them behind Stone Harbor, 4-inch gulp on the jig, and he hit the 20.5-inch mark for his top fish just the other day. Though again, even as you get down into Atlantic and Cape May County, all the way down into Delaware, folks are finding the better action on those reef sites, from Ocean City and Wildwood down to Cape May, and of course, the Delaware reef sites off the coast of Delaware. That's where Michael Bascombe and his buddies had him at one of those South Jersey reef locations. He said the biggest of the bunch went 8 pounds 9 ounces on the scale over at Jim's Bait and Tackle in Cape May, so that's good news. Now, to summarize this fluke bite with the final weeks of the season here for the 2021 season, go deep and go long. That's the best advice. In fact, Sal Manicello, he also shared this one. If you're not moving out of the back bay, you don't want to get out to the ocean, try the inlets. That's where he had this one. He shared it with me on Facebook, a 24-incher and a 19.5-incher in Barnegat Inlet, along with 13 shorts on Saturday. He was using a 6-inch white gulp grub and a 4-inch pink gulp teaser. Sal said the outgoing tide into low tide was best for him over the weekend. Hey, by the way, with only a week to go before the Labor Day weekend, I do remind you, if you haven't heard, the Jersey Coast Anglers Association, they've canceled their September 4th fluke tournament, the statewide. But Matt Sorrentino says he's going to be plugging that gap with the Rock the Dock fluke tournament. If you want to get in on that Labor Day weekend fluke tournament, go to njfishingclub.com for details. Now, this weekend is the Sunshine Tournament down in Little Egg, Great Bay, the Tuckerton area. That is this Sunday. For all the information, August 29th, Sunday, August 29th, give them a call. Sunshine Foundation's annual fluke tournament, 732-895-2939. Now, as I mentioned, while we were spared here along the eastern front, I know some folks farther west and northwest and out towards Pennsylvania had a lot of trouble with that passing hurricane over the weekend. I hope to God that you fared well, but I do know that it's changed some of the adaptive strategies for some of our freshwater guys, especially getting out to the Poconos. For more on that, let's check in with George, the Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, first, our hearts and prayers go out to everyone affected by the recent hurricane. You know, Henri went through the area, dumped tons of water, not only by the coast, even as far west here in the Poconos. Lots of people dealing with flooding, and I say our hearts and prayers go out to them that things go well for them going forward. But on the fishing side, you know, things are really kind of messed up as well. The Delaware River was feet above its normal stage. It's still running, you know, high, fast, and muddy. Even over here, I stopped by the Lehigh River today. That's still high, fast, and muddy, so it's best bet to let those rivers and streams calm down for a little bit and get back to normal. Good friend Eric Goodstall sent me this clip of a little trout stream, normally quiet, bubbly stream. It's just a roaring little torrent of water running through the mountain here, so it's really tough conditions. But where there is some good fishing, and you got to look for the bigger lakes with deeper water, they tend to fare well with some of this influx of rain and water. You know, you got fish down at 50, 60 feet, they're not going to be affected by changes up in the surface like that. And one of these guys out was Will Grouper and the enigmatic Fisherman X out on Wallenpaupack, and they just dominated the stripers even in the middle of the storm. They were out doing my favorite technique, trolling some live herring out there in the deep water. You know, we talked about this technique before, nice and slow, right where those stripers are hiding, going to yield some great fishing. Now Will said they got 19 they landed and released up on Wallenpaupack. Now, if you don't have any herring, a good substitute would be those Tony Maja 3-ounce mojos. You know, I use them here all the time. It's a great tactic. You want to get them up a little bit faster than you would by trolling live herring, but still some great tactics to get on. Listen, guys, as the water cools down, we're in for a couple days of cooler weather after this heat wave. The tactics are going to change, so stay tuned. We'll talk a little bit more about how that goes as fall approaches. Guys, be safe. Get out on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors Guy.
It's certainly nice to see some striped bass in George's report this weekend. And again, we're talking about bait, the peanut bunker, the mullet. I heard from a buddy of mine, he's been finding some corn cob mullets, which is a little strange this time of year. And of course, all of the spearing or bay anchovies in the back. That's going to be getting those striped bass out along the sod banks and the back bays a little bit riled up in the next few weeks. That's going to be a good bet for you. Working some of those sod banks, topwater poppers, some Kettle Creek swing shads. Brian Carson, though, he let me know the other day about this 31-inch, 13-pound striper he caught on bunker out back off of Summers Point, the Ocean City Bridge Pier. Brian said, quote, this is a great story. Not only was this my personal best and my first ever keeper, it was a special catch as I was using my best friend's rod, whom unexpectedly passed last month from a heart attack at the age of 49. He was definitely there with me as I fought this cow. Well said, Brian, and good luck with that rod in the next few weeks. For those looking to head offshore to try their hand, perhaps at the Atlantic Princess, the Wilmington, the Baltimore, perhaps you're going to be trolling for wahoo at the Cigar, keep an eye on the NOAA weather. Friday looks good. Probably into Monday looks good, but it looks like we're getting a little bit of breeziness on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're planning to get out from the Hudson to Baltimore, make sure you keep an eye on that NOAA weather forecast offshore. And don't forget, folks, if you're going offshore, I know the one thing when you bring some tuna or mahi back to the dock, you just want to clean those fish as quickly as possible, get home and get some rest. But don't forget about those bull dolphin if you're a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, because that is one of our Dream Boat Fishing Challenge species of interest. We have 8 different species, 10 places for each, and right now a 22-pound bull dolphin is sitting atop the leaderboard. That's definitely accessible to you guys, because I know of quite a few Jersey anglers so far this summer who have caught some good-sized dolphins. So don't forget, when you're bringing those mahi back, thinking the 20, 25-pound range, even less than that, make sure you bring it in to your favorite local tackle shop, a participating weigh station for the Fisherman magazine's Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Weigh those fish for an opportunity to win. Finally, a cautionary tale of sorts, picking up where we left off last week with Gary Ward's kayaking advice for anglers. This week I heard from Anton Zembel Jr. and Sr. Saved a man in distress from his kayak over the weekend. See, on the way out of Manasquan over near Clark's Landing, Anton noticed that a man was holding on to his flipped over kayak. Well, lo and behold, I guess a boat had passed him earlier, flipped the kayak over, and this guy was struggling like heck. Could barely hold on. The kayaker was so entangled in his fishing line that 19-year-old Anton jumped in, swam over, flipped the kayak boat back over, and pulled the kayaker to safety. For kayakers, that's a reminder to always have your PFD and that safety flag, although in this case, the safety flag didn't do much good with that boater going by. For boaters, even if you're racing down the channel, remember, you are responsible for your wake. So be safe out there, folks, and also be courteous, be conscientious, and don't be that guy. I'll leave you with this week's update from the Fisherman Magazine's Dave Anderson on the Coastal Kayak Clash. Catch him up this weekend.
It's amazing what a difference one fish can make. This week in the Coastal Kayak Clash, we received a single entry, a 29-inch fluke caught by Bob Wagner, which locked the top of the leaderboard back into a three-way tie with 6 points apiece. This also vaulted Bob back to the top thanks to his 36-inch bluefish, which is the largest entry logged by any of the top three contenders. Something worth mentioning is that the fish of the month for August is the sea robin, which is currently held by Matt Mahoney with his 17.25 incher. You have 5 days to knock him off and snatch the $100 yakattack.com gift certificate from his fishy hands. Time to go bird hunting. Good luck.
Steigercraft boats, built by people who fish our waters. Serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you.